I'm just going to pay my respects. I'm also going to the hospital to see the officers and some of the people that were so badly hurt. And I really look forward to going. I would have done it even sooner, but I didn't want to disrupt any more than they already had disruption. But I look forward to going to Pittsburgh tomorrow.
That was President Trump on what he hopes to accomplish with his visit to Pittsburgh in the aftermath of the horrific attack that left 11 dead. Now, some have suggested that the president's own language contributed to this tragedy. And even though the perpetrator hated his support for Israel and apparently hated him. Here to react, Naftali Bennett, the Israeli Minister of Education and the Minister of the Diaspora Jews, along with Joel Rubin, president of the Washington Strategy Group and former Obama Deputy Assistant Secretary of State. Mr. Minister, I would like to start with you. What would you like to say tonight to the president's critics? We'll get to some of the specifics in a moment, but a message to them about their concern about his language.
Well, first of all, I came over from Israel to tell the folks in Pittsburgh that we stand united. Israel has always been under attacks, and now we've seen the deadliest anti-Semitic attack in America's history, and we do stand united with our brothers and sisters. Unfortunately, anti-Semitism has always existed. Where there are Jews, there's always been anti-Semitism, and we need to speak up. And I believe that's what the president is about to do. What he's done, he spoke up very loudly, very clearly, saying he would fight anyone who is anti-Semitic, and that's what we would expect, and we were very pleased to hear that.
Well, what about the resistance, though, Mr. Bennett? I mean, the resistance to the president's visit, by not all, but some more progressive of Jewish leaders in the country and in Pittsburgh proper. They were even criticizing your decision to come to Pittsburgh, and I believe we have one of those. This is a tweet by David Simon, who is a Jewish-American writer. He said, "Go home. Netanyahu's interventions in U.S. politics aided in the election of Donald Trump and his raw and relentless validation of white nationalism and fascism. The American Jewish community is now bleeding at the hands of the Israeli prime minister, and many of us know it." Those are tough words, so not just directed at Donald Trump, but Bibi Netanyahu.
Those are terrible words, but they're on Twitter. They're not in reality. I spent a couple of days in Squirrel Hill in Pittsburgh with the Jewish community, and all I received was warmth, desire for unity. I think the president is absolutely right. As the leader of the United States, to go there and visit. I'm sure he would have been criticized had he not decided to go. And I think it's time for unity and for all of us to stand together, and that's what we're doing.
Joel, let's go to you. Some of the language being tossed around about President Trump I find to be not that helpful. This is a woman named Julie Ioffe on CNN just moments before I interviewed the president. Let's watch.
I think, this president, one of the things that he really launched his presidential run on is talking about Islamic radicalization. And this president has radicalized so many more people than ISIS ever did.
She came out with kind of a half-hearted apology afterward. Julie Ioffe, her name is. Your thoughts?
Well, Laura, first and foremost, I thank the minister for coming to Pittsburgh. I'm a fourth-generation Pittsburgher, grew up in Squirrel Hill. That's my parents' synagogue that got shot, so it's very personal. So for him to be there, it's positive. And political debate is part of Jewish life, and it's also part, clearly, of the community's feelings. This tweet, this statement, it reflects a real raw emotion right now. And I think American Jews in particular are very concerned about the rhetoric about how Jews are being described right now in the political environment. And we feel that that is contributing to a culture of hate that may have inspired this killer.
The reference to Donald Trump, though, Donald Trump had the chance to see this big stone plaque he received today from Benjamin Netanyahu for his work for the Jewish people.
Yes.
It was in the Oval Office. He had just received it. His daughter is Jewish. His grandkids are Jewish. Son-in-law is Jewish. A year ago, I think they were saying he was too pro-Jewish. He was anti-Palestinian because of the move, ultimately, of the embassy to Jerusalem. I mean, saying that he's causing a horrific attack by a man who said he despised Donald Trump?
Well, these are two separate issues. Support for Israel is not the same as what the American Jewish experience is. And right now in this country, there is deep concern. After Charlottesville, for example, where the president was not clear in his condemnation of the white supremacy, and that kind of fed into this idea that maybe the president's not calling out anti-Semitism or ethnic baiting enough. And it continues. There are many examples that make people very concerned about how we're being treated right now here at home.
Mr. Minister, your response to that, I mean, the Jewish community has been fairly, more democratically aligned politically. But this is a tragedy that hits home for so many, including Joel, so many out there. Your final thoughts tonight.
I think we all have to speak out whenever anyone talks anti-Semitism, be it Louis Farrakhan, who just a few days ago compared Jews to termites, or David Duke. And I think that President Trump has been extremely supportive of the State of Israel, moved the embassy to Jerusalem, has recognized Jerusalem as our capital, has been a big friend of the Jewish people. This is not a partisan issue. It's got to be bipartisan. The president and on the other side of the aisle, everyone has to step up, speak up against anti-Semitism, and that's exactly what's going on here.
Well, we all can probably do a little bit better tonight, and I appreciate both of you being here. Thank you so much.
Thank you.